Thank you guys so much for joining the webinar today. My name is Tanner Gers, and this is How to Start Your Career in Digital Accessibility, hosted by Access Ability Officer. Ability is our middle name, and our vision is that the U.S. disabled unemployment rate should be the same as the U.S. unemployment rate. To do that, how we affect that every day is to provide employment opportunities for people with disabilities and provide the training, the technical skill development, and training programs, the opportunities to start careers in different employment pathways. So today we're going to be talking about digital accessibility. This is the career field that changed my life 10 years ago when I got placed at a young tech startup here in Arizona selling digital accessibility job boards in 2015. That was a little bit ahead of its time, right? But when that opportunity began, that's when the light bulb moment came on for me. That was when I realized, like, holy moly, digital accessibility, this industry, this career field where a screen reader is the number one tool for digital accessibility compliance. Like, I'm going all in. When has there ever been a job where a tool for a blind person is the tool to do the job? That doesn't happen, right? Not that often. And so I I immediately, when that opportunity was over, the digital accessibility job board company, I'm going to be a tester. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I had no clue how I was going to start my career in digital accessibility. And that's what I want to share with y'all today. Exactly how to do that today, though, because it's 10 years ahead now. We're now in 2025. We're going into 2026, you know, almost getting ready to start Q4 of 2025. And we're in September. And it's different, y'all. The game is different. It's more competitive. Um, and it's never been more difficult to start your career in any job, in any field, right now, because the job market is just so competitive. So how do you do it? How do you stand out as a person with a disability, a severe disability, someone who's reliant on screen readers, an assistive technology? How do you stand out against the other 400 people applying for the same job who don't have a disability, who don't have to face the unconscious bias, the stigmas, the fears, the antiquated beliefs held by the hiring manager, held by the applicant tracking system filtering out your resume, held by the company, the people who will be doing the hiring? How do you compete against the people who don't have to deal with that? They've got the working experience, they've got degrees, they've got the certifications. How do you stand out against them? You can launch your career in digital accessibility. That's what today's Ask Me Anything event is all about. And let me just get over here uh, to my notes. So today I want to be helping you guys out specifically. I want to be answering your questions on interviews, hiring applications, and resume guidance, right? Uh, Certifications, training programs, and the work opportunities that you could be going for, or how you can create them for yourself. Uh, so, how did I get, coming full circle back to what I said, how did I get my career started in digital accessibility? So, I was using a lot, not knowing it, I was using a lot of the core tenets that I teach today in the Getting Hired playbook, and for our apprentices who come through the CAT program, the Certified Accessibility Tester program, how to transition into the industry when the apprenticeship is over. Okay. And so when I was getting started, when I was looking for my first tester position, I was looking for agencies who did digital accessibility testing. And so I found them, right? And I found one in New York State. They were outside of New York City on Long Island, and they were a nonprofit founded by a blind person, right? And I was like, wow, I got to get on this guy's radar. And so I went through their website and went all over their website. I knew that website front to back, side to side. And then I found him on LinkedIn, the co-founder, and I created a relationship with them. I reached out to them. I started liking their posts, right? And then I sent them a message and I said, hey, I found some accessibility issues on your website. Just wanted you to know about them. And so, they were appreciative, and that got me a meeting, right? And it was just an introductory meeting, blah, blah, blah. And that got me the second meeting. And that was like the real meeting where I got the job. And I got my first job making $500 a month as a usability tester. And then the work really began, right? Like I was working so hard to create value, create connection, create relationships, create proximity to the people that could hire me, the people that would give me a shot, show them that I can do the job, that I'm going to provide value, I'm going to solve problems, I'm going to execute. And that's what I did, right? So that's why I got the shot. And then I really busted my butt and I went above and beyond to become the best tester that I possibly could, figuring out what the project manager really needed, what the clients really needed. How can I approach this better? How do I get faster? How do I get better? How do I make sure that the quality's so amazing that I'm the go-to person whenever they need something done? I'm so responsive. I'm on my email so hard that if they need a job turned around really quickly, they know they can come to me because I'm on it. And that's what I did. And then I got a promotion. And then I got another promotion. And I was now I'm the executive director. So it's the co-founder and me now building this digital accessibility agency. We're running sales and I'm running service delivery. And and that's how I got started in digital accessibility. What happened from there, just to bring it full circle, how I got to here and why you're here right now, is that we almost sold that digital accessibility consultancy to the American Foundation for the Blind. That deal fell through, but AFB asked me to come over and help them build their consultancy. I took that opportunity, and I was so glad that I did. And then I got out of the nonprofit sector and I went into work for a big digital accessibility software heavy, sales heavy company called UsableNet. Tremendous people there. I love UsableNet. They are a great company. And I was their head of partnerships. I thought that I brought forth a strategy. Disability employment is so near and dear to my heart because I didn't know how difficult, how hard it was until I became that blind job seeker who didn't understand why I couldn't get past that in-person interview, why I could tell the person wanted to hire me, but couldn't, wouldn't, perhaps shouldn't, because their unconscious bias was telling them this person's blind and they can't do the job. I could tell they wanted to, but their fear prevented them from letting them. So at UsableNet, I was like, hey, I think we can make our customers more sticky. I think we can increase our revenue and make our customers more reliant on us through people. Right. So we're a digital accessibility company. We're selling the software, right? We should teach them how to create a disability, a digital accessibility, employment initiative, right? Where they hire people who are blind or otherwise disabled, right? To do the digital accessibility testing internally, right? We can teach them about employment, blah, 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 blah. And they brought it, and it wasn't the right idea for them. It wasn't the right strategy. They're a software company. And, but that really lit the fire for me to start accessibility officer. Right. And so I started this to be a digital accessibility company first, right? But it was important for me to hire blind. I just couldn't source the talent with the technical skill and ability at scale with any kind of reliability, right? To find people who could do the job at the level in which it needed to be done. And so we built a training program, right? It's the Certified Accessibility Tester program. And it's a 14-week online instructor-led program. It leads to 2 certifications. It's hard as hell. It's so hard. It's like a, graduate college level course online. It's about a semester long, right? It's 14 weeks. And then there's final exams, and you get to sit for the Department of Homeland Security Trusted Tester, that final exam. You get your DHS Trusted Tester, and you need that for any kind of local government, state government, federal government digital accessibility testing, working for the agency itself, the government itself, or a contractor like accessibility officer who's providing services for them in digital accessibility. You have to have that certification. The next one's the CAT 2.2. It's more technical, it's deeper, it's more robust. It's against the Web Content Accessibility Guideline 2.2 AA, right? So as a person who's blind or visually impaired, like you need to know how to test against issues that affect people with cognitive impairments, with multiple sensory loss, with mobility impairments. You have to be able to test against all of the success criteria if you want to be competitive. And that's what the CAT 2.2 does. That's what that certifies. It's the final exam is a digital accessibility report. It's like, hey, here's a website you've never seen before. Test it. You got 4 hours to do it, and let me see that report. And you have to be good enough. If you're good enough to make it to the starting line for the CAT program, you pass both final exams. You earn your Department of Homeland Security Trusted Tester, and you earn your CAT 2.2. You get a job. You get trained, you get certified, both certifications, you get a job. You get a shot of as a digital accessibility tester making $25 an hour. And we've got some of our apprentices right now on this call. We just came off our monthly team meeting, and I let them know that I had to drop because I'm coming here to answer questions about how to launch your career in digital accessibility. So that's a little bit about me. That's a little bit about the CAT program. That's a little bit about how you, at a high level, you too can start your career in digital accessibility. But I want to make this about y'all. I want be super selfish about the problems that you're facing in finding digital accessibility careers, jobs, the interview process, what you're doing with regards to relationships, and how you're really advancing your career. So, Rada, if you can help me with the management on this, if y'all can just raise your hand, and Rada will take you off mute, and we can go ahead and start to ask some questions. What's up, Douglas?
Hey Tanner, what's going on? Uh,
Douglas, do you want to introduce yourself, my man?
I'm Douglas Porter. I've been an apprentice in the CAT program for about uh, a year and probably about 4 months now. And I have a question that I didn't get to ask during the team meeting.
Yes, sir.
For to get a job, what level of remediation do you really need to kind of get a foot in the door? Because remediation is quite overwhelming as I'm learning this.
Yeah. When you say remediation, you mean like providing the code suggestion itself?
Providing the code suggestions, yes.
So, and you're talking about with regards to the report, creating the report for the test data.
Well, I guess I'm thinking about is because I think you've talked about how just being able to test, it's not like you're going to get hired necessarily just as a tester. You need other skills. And remediation is definitely one of those skills.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing
totally.
if I can write the code suggestions, then I can alter the code in Chrome and figure out if it works or not. And then so I'm wondering how deep just to like really get your foot into the door of a job do you need to go into remediation?
Yeah.
Does
So,
that make sense?
gotcha. Makes total sense now. So, whoo! I just want to call out Douglas coming with a 98-mile-an-hour fastball right from the get-go. So this question's probably going to be beyond a lot of people who are not in Douglas's position, right? Where he's got literally about 18 months of experience. You add up the CAT program plus his apprenticeship, he's 18 months in. Okay, so don't be too intimidated by this question. This is experience driven, this is urgency driven, and this is understanding that lifelong learning and ongoing development is required for success in this industry, as is any industry today. If you want to work remote, if you want to work from home, if you want to work in this digital age, these are the things that you got to be doing: consistent professional and technical development. Okay. So Douglas, what I think it gets down to is it doesn't have to be that hard. And so how can you orient your study to have the greatest outcome with the least amount of effort as possible? So what are the violations that are most prevalent? Right. It's a rhetorical question, right? So, you're thinking about right now the violations that you most commonly see And we can probably break that down with automation and manual. And then you'll want to start with those and just learning the HTML snippets that they need to have. Like, hey, this alternative text attribute for like 1.1.1, right? You know what needs to happen, right? Does it need to be a null? Does it need to be, alt, whatever equals null? Like that's the only code you really have to know. Or is it alt equals whatever the value, right? Which is what, how do we describe images?
Sorry, I was on mute. I was letting you speak.
Yeah. How do
Um,
we just, you know,
okay, so then that leads me to ask, if I may, um, ho- like CSS and JavaScript,
yeah.
um, should you have, can you just have a rudimentary knowledge to get your foot in the door, or do you really need to be deep into them as well?
I think that your ability to speak to them can go far, and you can use tools to expedite your learning and execution. So let's say we're using Dart Suite and you get that code snippet, right? And it's wrong. I might just put that into ChatGPT and be like, hey, this code's wrong. It's violating this success criteria. What should the code be?
Okay,
Right. And you could probably even create, a custom GPT that's trained on the WCAG success criteria, the W3C, right? Like all that's free. You could create the custom GPT that's trained on those things, and then your results could also then provide links to the WCAG success criteria and the recommendations for the W3C's recommendations that would support your recommendation.
okay. I think ChatGPT is sick and tired of me saying WCAG at this point. So that's all I have, brother.
Oh, dude, I love the hardball questions. This is awesome. And, and to, yeah. So thanks, Douglas. I appreciate you. All right. We got a couple other people raising hands.
We got Kira first, and then Jeff.
Kira. All right. And Rada, am I okay? Like, I'm kind of like all over. I've got so much stuff on my desk. I'm kind of balancing the Frenchie and everything. Am I okay here? Like, am I too far
You're
away from the
centered.
camera?
You're okay. We just saw you had your bottle of water, but it's fine.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm not ashamed of showing my water.
I
All
was
right.
gonna say there's
Kira.
nothing to be ashamed of with water. So I I've been to one of your webinars before. I'm trying to work with my voc rehab counselor on getting into the CAT program, but is there anything that I can do in the meantime to start learning this stuff? Because I'm really eager to get going and I don't know how long it's going to take for the state to pay for it.
Okay. What state are you in?
Illinois.
Okay. Great. So,
And I think
yeah.
my counselor has already talked to you. Um, but I'm just trying to
Thank you.
figure out what I can do on my side, on my end, as far as because my counselor told me that she has to talk to her supervisor and stuff like that, and that was a few weeks
That's right.
ago. And I know bureaucracy and all of that, but um, what can I do on
No,
my end to start learning this, because I'm really eager to get into it.
two things. So one is definitely ping your counselor.
Yeah.
Rada, can you send a message to Marissa and ask her to find the email for Kira in
Mm-hmm.
Illinois and the counselor? She'll be able to find it with that information. And we need to send a follow-up email to Kira's counselor
All right.
about where we're at in that process. Kira, so that's number one. Number two is there's a ton of free opportunities, right, for you to learn stuff. So you could start with like DQ University. So that's like a paid program that they give away a scholarship. It's only $100, but they give a scholarship if you have a disability, and I believe you have to provide some documentation. They'll give you access to that program for free. and that's going to give
Yes, I
you
have to Q University. I've got that.
perfect. Have you
I
gone through that
started it a
program?
while back, and huh?
Oh, please go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. No, no. What were you saying?
I was just asking if you started that program and you were answering my question.
Yeah, I started that. I need to finish the fundamentals of accessibility course. I'm not sure what the recommended order is for them, but that it said I should start with fundamentals of accessibility, so I started that a while back. I need to finish it.
Yeah, I believe that program is pretty linear. So you can just go from, 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Yeah, I don't think you need to jump around.
Okay,
And
good. Yeah.
I I think what you'll experience, is that it's really hard to do self-paced digital
Oh, I
accessibility
know.
instruction.
That's why I want to do the CAT program or the Blind Institute of Technology, but I've applied twice to that program and I was denied. So I have to wait, I think, a few more months before they open applications again.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why I really want to get some knowledge, some at least a little bit of knowledge, so that maybe either that'll help me with joining your program, or I can share more of my knowledge when I apply for BIT and hopefully get in this time whenever they open
Yeah.
it again.
Did they give you feedback on why you were not approved?
No, they just were like, it's a competitive.
Hmm.
That's basically all they told me. They didn't really say that there was anything wrong with my application. Um, I don't think there was anything wrong with it, but I think it's just, they can only take like 20 people at a time or whatever, for the
Okay.
digital accessibility analyst course. And I'm sure they get a lot of applications every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know a little bit about accessibility issues from lived experience, and I've learned a little, I know like a tiny little bit of the technical stuff, but not really, but I don't think they said that I don't think my application was bad or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know what the application process looks like, but I think you're kind of like touching on like something um tangential or analogous to like the application process elsewhere. So I'm not saying that this is you, and I'm going to be direct and very candid, but I would be looking at skill gaps. I'd be like doing a personal assessment of myself and be like,
Right.
where am I weak on paper, and what can I do to beef that up? And so if that means grinding through the DQ University so I can say I've got that certification or I've got that badge or I've completed it, do it. If that means grinding through DHS Trusted Tester on your own, do it. If that means getting some other kind of whatever, completing a WebEx, or not WebEx, God dog it. edX. I think it's edX, right? There's probably free
Hmm.
digital accessibility training programs with a certification that you can get online. And so I would continue to just like stack up you know, maybe videos of me performing digital accessibility testing, I don't know what that application looks like, but that's what I would start at. It's like, why are other people, quote unquote, more competitive than me? And how do I overcome
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. No, that's kind of how that's kind of what I'm thinking about, because that's kind of why I asked, because I know that, I mean, the application doesn't ask about technical things, but they ask a lot of questions. It's a very detailed application, but they don't ask about like HTML. I mean, they ask if you're familiar with HTML and all of that, which I'm not really. So, but I think I'll probably get to HTML through DeQ University at some point, through because I've already, learned about all the different disabilities and all of that. And going through the fundamentals of accessibility, the final part, I think the myths about disability or whatever for that.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think that the the yeah, I think I wish you the best of luck on that stuff, and I will make sure that we reach back out to your counselor. And you make me think about our skills baseline assessment,
I was just
right?
going to go to that.
So, yeah, do you want to talk about that, Mary Beth?
Sure, Kira. If you are an assistive technology user, no matter what you go through, know your assistive technology. Don't just kind of know it extremely well.
Oh,
Learn it well, some people think they know it and they come into things and go, I don't know how to do that.
I have the document with the skill assessment that Tanner that you sent me a while back, unless it's changed. I have the document with the whatever the baseline stuff,
The prep
and
document? Yeah.
yes, that. So I'll go look at that again. But I've been. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty advanced at it. So, um, but I'd have to go back and look at the because I don't have the list memorized right now. But
Yeah, but for
no,
any kind of
yeah.
employment, I'm sorry, Kira, this is Mary Beth again.
Sorry.
The no, that's okay. It's not just knowing your assistive technology, but knowing how to use it with things like Windows, with things like
Yes.
Microsoft products. Knowing how to, because if you can't send a good email, and if you don't know how to handle all that, and some people don't, they think they're good, and then they're like completely flummoxed by
Well,
some things
I
that
mean,
should be.
I was just sorry. I was just going to say I had a job before, and so I'm familiar with using like Word and Outlook and all of that. Um, so because I know that was one of the things that was mentioned on there. I just remember that because I know that that's pretty standard for employment anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, I think one of the one of the big things that a lot of people who maybe are like young in their professional careers but are assistive technology users is how hard it is to like be onboarded to a company. So you're going through training, you're trying to like learn everything that every other employee is like required to learn. And then you're also trying to learn how to navigate the workplace application in a way
Yeah.
that may be restricting you, that you have to use you have to use thinking and mental power to try to like problem solve how you're going to get. And then it's like parts aren't accessible, things that take a person a point and click take you 5 minutes, right? And so you run into all these like barriers or
Yeah, until you
obstacles
know
or
the keystrokes
problems.
for whatever it is. Yeah, because um yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, that was my whole college experience too, was trying to I had to figure out how to do my homework a lot of the time because not because of the work itself, but because of trying to navigate the applications and trying to get around the accessibility barriers that were there. Um so no, I well, and I navigated a pretty complicated application from my former employer. So, um,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Epic. It's an electronic health record system.
Yep.
Um, but yeah,
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
I've navigated that. I was a medical scheduler, so I actually learned a lot of things about JAWS that I had never used before during that job. So,
Yeah, and I hear Epic's getting a lot better with their accessibility.
oh, way better
We
than it was even back in 2021 when I started using it. Because I think
Yep.
the Chicago Lighthouse was where I was working, and they were part of the pilot for Epic to do that.
Yes.
I don't know if any other places are using the accessible version or not, but
So do you know
yeah.
Phil Yatman then and
Who?
those
I'm not
guys
sure.
from the
I
DAX
I'm
team?
Good morning, good afternoon. This is Paul from Kenya.
Hi, Paul.
Fine. I'm a blind person too, and I'm glad to hear the experiences because they are similar. What we experience as blind persons to navigate such issues of workplaces and even companies, etc. So I'm very glad to have fellow peer issues coming up.
Thanks, Paul. Hey, is Rod, I don't know, is it Bob next or is there someone before Bob?
Before Bob, there was Jeff, but he put his hand down. So
Hey,
Jeff
Jeff.
Townsend.
Yeah, yeah, this is Jeff. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, repeat. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Um, just a little about myself. Yes, I'm blind, but I've only been blind for 2.5 years. And with the event that made me go blind, I also have severe hearing loss and I'm wearing hearing aids. So if I misunderstand a little something, it's because I'm fooling with the audio ducking on my phone to make sure that I can hear the UI as well as you guys talking. Um, anyway, I'm in Oregon, and my question is I'm 51 years old, and I do have some tech background, but no certifications. And the tech background is from the turn of the century, from all through the 90s, as far as employment goes, through the 90s and the early 2000s. I've been out of that field for a while. Accessibility was actually a big draw for me, especially after going blind and I realized how inaccessible so much was. For example, the application that I use to manage my hearing aids, I can't use because it's not accessible whatsoever. It just says button, 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 and I have no idea what they do, as an example. So I'm looking into it sounds like what you were talking about. Now, some of my concerns are my age. Is it reasonable to get started in a program like this at my age? Because it sounds like based on the first person that spoke, the first call-in person that spoke, they've been going through years of internship, like a year and a half of internship, and the certification takes a while. Is this something that I could realistically do within the next few years, or is it going to take like the time it would take to get a full 4-year degree, hands-on experience to make myself competitive? I did hear you mention briefly it was a 12-week program for before taking one certain test. I was just invited to this today, right before the meeting, so I haven't had a chance to go to your website and really look at the details. So if I'm asking something that is answered on the website, I apologize. Okay, I'll be
No,
I'll
no,
be quiet now and I'll mute.
no worries. No worries. Thanks, Jeff. And you said you're
Thank
in
you for your
Oregon?
patience. I am from Oregon, yes.
Okay,
Just
great.
south of Eugene.
Awesome.
About
Thanks
100
for
miles south of Portland, basically on the 5 interstate.
thanks for making it out. So I just want to, point out what Jeff did for everybody else is like Jeff was just doing, he just did a brief high level personal assessment of himself and identified his gaps and vulnerabilities for his opportunities to get a job. And then he's calling out additional hurdles that he may face with ageism, as well as being blind and starting digital accessibility, as well as the timeline it might take to actually launch a career in digital accessibility. So, Jeff, I think there's no doubt about it. People get discriminated for their race or their gender, definitely for their disability status, and ageism is likely real. Even though I've never experienced it myself, right? I'm sure that it's real. And so that's definitely a hurdle that you're going to have to overcome, regardless of the industry that you're going into. Perhaps outside of like retail, in person type of like office job, right? Like the fact that the secretary is 75 years old, no one cares about that, right? Like the clerk working at Macy's being 65 years old, like that, no one's going to bat an eye at that, right? But the person that's working in a tech field, someone who's 60 or 70 years old, that's definitely going to be a hurdle. um Something to consider. Additionally, or counter to that is like once you're in, I think you're in, and there's so many opportunities to leverage digital accessibility. If it's a job that you're really looking for and you're worried about ageism, then I would be strategically leaning towards government and or nonprofit, right? Governments and nonprofits are not going to have the same type of discriminatory bias that private companies who are competing in the marketplace will. Okay. So that's how I would try to like overcome that and how I would strategically navigate it. The other questions about like your certifications and not having a degree. The great thing about certifications is that depending on the certification, you can get them much faster than you can get degrees. Right. So you could be stacking accessibility certifications inside of 12 months. Easy, no problem. Right. You could get your CAT 2.2, you could get your trusted tester, you could get your CPAC, you could get what the DHS trust the DQ University thing. You could probably even get some beginner HTML or CSS certifications all inside of 12 months. Like if you put your head down and really went for it. It's how bad do you want it? How motivated are you to get it? And how capable you are of achieving it? And then the second thing is that once you've got the opportunity, like how ferocious are you to continue to build upon that opportunity? Right. So when I was describing my story, right, it was like not only how do I go faster, but how do I have the best reports possible? And then so that's not just a question I ask myself and then look at my reports and then try to figure out how to get better. That's me reaching out to the program manager, the project manager, and being like, hey man, what's really important to the clients? Should we ask questions like this? What helps you? What are the things that you really hate when you get a report? What do you hate? What do you love? What makes your job easy? And I do that shit. Right. So it's a ferocious, unrelenting responsibility to figuring out how you can always get better. And the cream rises to the top. Right. And so today, that's the level of competitiveness it takes to separate yourself from the other 300 or 400 people who are going for the same job. At background, right? The job market for digital accessibility, there's a ton of people without disabilities who transition into digital accessibility. Maybe they have a degree in English, maybe they have a degree in physics, maybe they have a non-technical background, maybe they have a super technical background, and that everybody gets a certification and they usually get their first job or parlay their existing job into accessibility responsibilities. Right. So meaning, hey, I'm a project manager. Hey, I'm a developer. Hey, I'm a QA tester. Hey, I'm a this person. And I'm raising my hand and telling my management, my leadership, I'm telling my coworkers, or I'm just doing it. uh I want to start doing digital accessibility. Hey, we've got a problem here. I just ran a digital accessibility test just using automation and we've got violations. We're out of compliance. And you start driving those initiatives in a job that you already have. Right? So that's how people, kind of without disabilities come into digital accessibility. And the other thing I want to put, an idea in your head is that you can reverse engineer that out of digital accessibility. So long term, if you don't want to be in digital accessibility, but you're recognizing the opportunity of digital accessibility right now in the marketplace today, increasing regulations, the job opportunities, the training opportunities, the certifications, the consciousness, the awareness, the public awareness, I would get a job. Even if digital accessibility wasn't my thing, I'd probably get a career in digital accessibility so I could then transition into a different job. Right. So human resources, project management, finance, accounting, like whatever it is, because the easiest job to get is at a company that you already work for. Right. So as you got a digital accessibility job and you're crushing it and you're providing your value, you're like, wow, Jeff is amazing. Have you seen Jeff Townsend? Holy shit. This guy gets it done. Did you know he also does accounting? Yeah, I think he wants to transition into accounting. Well, oh, Jeff, hey, this job in accounting just came up. I'm going to put in a word for you. And boom, you're in accounting. People hire people. And the only thing more powerful than the person across the table is the person in their proximity who's saying, you need to hire this person. You need to take a look at this person. That's more powerful than any resume that you can build, right? Is a recommendation from a person who's got influence on the hiring manager making the decision. So one, digital accessibility is an opportunity for you to get into a career. I just kind of outlined what it would take, the timelines, etc. And then two is like digital accessibility is an opportunity to get into a different career. right, at a company that you want to work for. So Jeff, tell me if that makes sense. What's your follow-up questions? I just threw a pile of spaghetti at you.
This is Jeff. Yes, it actually does make quite a bit of sense. And it does give me, my primary concern was the timeline it would take, because ageism, it's just a reality. I've come to terms with that. My main concern was how much longer will I have to wait, because I don't want to, for example, get a job in 5 years when retirement age for me would be like only 10 years after that. I would like to get employed as soon as possible. So at least this lets me know how to hit the ground running, and I could use the next 12 months really hammering down on the certifications. And
Do you
like I
have
said, I've been
do you have relationships in your previous work life?
no.
Okay.
My most immediate job was the tech stuff was, like I said, turn of the century, and it was working for dial-up ISPs, as well as some DSL stuff. And it was so turbulent during that time period, during the dot-com bust. I transitioned to becoming a real estate broker for a while, and then a truck driver because it was reliable pay. So my most recent job was actually truck driving. I don't have any professional contacts that would do me any good right now, but I do have some contacts through a nonprofit for the blind that I've been a part of here for the last year, and also my counselor and them at the Oregon Commission for the Blind, who actually set me up and informed me about this meeting. But where at least there are some contacts there, and I can utilize them to reach out with any connections they have out in the professional world. Once I'm suited for certain jobs, once I'm actually certified and can prove my experience as such.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you're well spoken, you're articulate. I think you have a lot of opportunities ahead. Like it's I would say the niches or the riches are in the niches. And I try to this is like so true in so many aspects of your life. It's the the more you drill down in one specific area, the more you'll be thought of having expertise in like peripheral areas. And that
Yeah.
allows you to create generalist specialty or a generalist capacity and elevate your career to the next level. Right. So
Yeah.
I could hear you respond. I understand. You get it.
Yeah, I do get it. I apologize if I sound like if I'm choppy. My an alarm on my phone just started going off, and I'm
No, you're all good,
there. I
man.
stopped it. Okay, I'm
I
back.
think we
I have an alarm.
Jeff, no, I appreciate the question. It's like it's so awesome. I love talking about how restart your career and you're doing it quote unquote later in life, and so that's awesome. But Bob, I think you are next. What question do you have, my friend?
Well, I'm a little bit in the same boat as Jeff, although slightly differently. I've been blind my whole life, and I'm 56. I've had a full career as a totally blind person, but now I've moved back to where my wife lives in Jackson, Tennessee, and if you want to talk about backward attitude toward blind people, move to the South.
Yeah.
Um, it's you know so I suppose my question would be, a lot of this is new to me in terms of doing accessibility testing for somewhere where you haven't already worked for. When I worked for public broadcasting out in California, I did all of their usability testing for them because I was already an employee managing a couple other departments. I sort of did usability testing on the side, but I was able to point out the issues to them, but not have to suggest remediation myself. They would be the ones to do that. So if I were to take a leap into a program such as this, does all of the code knowledge that I would need to suggest remediation, would all of that be covered in the certifications that I would be doing through y'all? Or should I do some prerequisite work, learning some basic coding before I came in to tackle something with y'all?
Yeah, I mean, I think being proactive is always the right approach, right? The best time
Mm-hmm.
to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Yep.
The second best time is right now. And if you come into the program, at least with a fresher update on, some basic HTML, maybe some CSS, maybe some JavaScript,
Mm-hmm.
like you're going to be so far ahead of
Mm-hmm.
the standard person coming through the program, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people, like the CAT program is an entry level certification, right? Designed for non-technical people who are screen reader reliant to
Okay.
to develop the technical skill and ability to do digital accessibility testing against WCAG 2.2 AA, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the testing and the reporting and then the guiding of remediation. The actual suggesting of how to remediate is not covered in this program.
Okay.
However, knowing that HTML or CSS or Java script is the missing link for you to get to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're at that next level, then not only does additional like revenue income come into play, right? But additional job opportunities come into play.
Mm-hmm.
And the ability to provide remediation guidance on the fly on a meeting, is tremendously valuable, right? Because
Mm.
then that skill can be deployed against training,
Right.
right? That skill can be deployed against working with developers or design, you know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
being a project manager and, again, employers hire people who can solve problems and your value is how, is what they're willing to pay to solve those problems. And so the more problems you're able to solve, right, the more job opportunities you're going to be able to create for yourself and the higher income you'll be able to command.
Mm-hmm. So you're suggesting doing some work on my own with these things before considering entering into your certification programs.
I'm saying that what state are you in?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. That's right. You're in Jackson, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say we're trying to kick off another CAT program at the end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say that your counselor is like, yeah, Bob needs to do the skills baseline assessment to see if he can get into this program. Great. Bob passed the skills baseline assessment. Okay, now we're going to authorize Bob for the program. Like at the best case scenario, you're looking at close to 4 weeks out.
Mm-hmm.
And during those 4 weeks, I would be like, hey, if I really want to give this thing the best shot I've got, and I'm worried about a long-term time frame, I'm definitely busting my butt before I start the program.
Right. Well, I thank you for creating realistic expectations about stuff like this. A lot of people will give you pie in the sky stuff instead of being real. So I appreciate that.
I think the apprentices who hear me on our team meetings, who hear me in meetings will, you know, will say that I'm going to tell it to you straight. I'm going to keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
And I have it means nothing to me to set someone up to fail.
Right.
It's like, if this is not the right thing for you, it's not the right thing for you, and I talk about the future of accessibility and what that means for us and,
Yeah.
blah, blah, so, and that's a problem that I'm trying to, that's problems I'm trying to solve as like someone who wants to hire people who are blind. It's like digital accessibility right now. Great. Awesome. What can we do with cyber? What can we do with HR?
Mm-hmm.
What can we do as people who are blind or visually impaired to kick ass in the workplace? Like, how do we,
Right.
changing stigmas is about like showing up and doing the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And showing these ableist people like what we can really fucking do.
Oh
And
yeah.
that requires the right training program, and it requires setting the right expectations, because no matter how great my training program is, if we don't set the right expectations for you for what the real workplace is like, people are just
Right.
going to fall flat on their face, and
Mm-hmm.
then the stigmas are ingrained, right? Then
Yep.
the beliefs are enforced, and we don't move towards where we're really trying to go.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Oh,
I've
Go
got
ahead.
I was
some
gonna say,
questions.
I was gonna say, I would add that I will say that I've been through the CAT program. I've been an apprentice. Um, it is real world. That you work on live sites. You work on when you do your CAT apprentice test. that's realistic. That's the whole point that Tanner and Heather, his co-founder with a accessibility officer, that they do want you prepared for what digital accessibility testing actually is, not just kind of general. It's very specific, and you continue to grow even as an apprentice. You know, you keep building on that, and you know, knowing a little bit of coding does not hurt, but it is not necessary when you start. Although, you know,
Hmm.
like Tanner said, if you want to, you know, start learning a little bit of that in advance, it just gives you an extra edge.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
Great question, Bob. Thank you, Mary Beth.
No
Let me
problem.
do a little time check on us. Let's
I've got a
see.
question.
I've got my
I have
It's
my
got a
daughter
question.
this evening.
Can you hear
Aw,
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
yes.
This is Paul once again from Kenya.
Hey,
And
Paul.
fine. I've got a few questions a bit to understand it much better.
Sure.
Because in terms of workplace, one of the challenges or what we experience as blind persons, just the way you said about workplace applications, which might not be accessible. Giving an instance of the way Google Space has really come up in terms of the Gmail changing its times, and we don't have like a program to teach blind people on how to navigate. Having that, noting that most now blind people have adapted the client-based uh, email, it makes very interesting because some workplaces maybe they don't recognize that. And secondly, in terms of the perception, because some employers believe that if you've hired you, we want you to do the work, but they have not put those measures of ensuring that maybe you get to be trained on a few applications. While at that, they might also be having other work application, maybe for different time schedule or updating some particular plans, something of the sort, which maybe you're not aware. How do you navigate that? Second, another question is about sighted guide services. In terms of your area, is it supposed to be individualized support, or is it the organization is supposed to take a percentage or support in terms of this? Because some places are not accessible. You have to go by route. You have to maybe acquire extra services. Either you have to pay extra to get a vehicle to take you there, or even in our case in Kenya, sometimes you can use a motorcycle to cover some distances, which means it's extra cost. How do you navigate those hidden costs of the being blind while you don't want to compromise the situation at workplace? And lastly is an issue about the way the uh, different softwares are coming up, and vis-a-vis the artificial intelligence. How do blind people now are able to really market themselves in this shrinking workspace, which we already know we are not existing, but we are trying to survive in it? Thank you.
Wow, Paul, that was a tremendous amount of questions. So, I can't really speak to the workplace stuff with regards to Kenya because I'm not familiar with the laws in Kenya around that, and I'm not familiar with, the cultural expectations. I imagine that it's something similar to the United States where there's low expectations or no expectations, but I can't really speak to the what happens in the workplace. I can't really speak to how to get accommodations like sighted assistance. And I will say that, navigating additional costs for navigation is common here in the United States as well. You have to pay for the disability transit services that they have, and then sometimes they don't even have the services like where Mary Beth lives. They don't have that kind of service. So there is no disability or accessible transportation. The with regards to Google, it sucks. I mean, they just changed their thing. They don't have the same kind of UI, and so now it's really tough for screen reader users. What I would say is that you should probably look at a more stable platform like Outlook that's free, and then import your have your emails forwarded to the Outlook interface, right? So you just add the email account from Gmail to your Outlook application, and then you're getting your emails that way. That way, inbox management is easier, and you could probably sync your calendars too, which would make calendar management a lot easier as well. And I'm not a big proponent of using AI to market yourself, because anybody who uses AI on a regular basis can see people using AI to market themselves. And So I don't recommend using that. What I do recommend figuring out people use AI for is how to leverage their productivity up, how to get more productive, how to increase their performance, how to increase their knowledge, how to increase their awareness, how to go faster, right? How to have a creative thinker and problem solver. How to get step-by-step instructions to do things. That's what I think we should be using AI for right now. But Douglas, I saw you had your hand raised for a little bit. I wanted to make sure that you got your last question answered, my friend.
Thanks, Tanner. Actually, it's not a question. I just wanted to reach out to Bob, and Jeff mostly. Jeff, I am 56 and I became disabled due to visual loss when I was 52. I had no tech background and I had been a delivery driver for over 20 years. This gave me a second chance at a good income, hopefully down the road. So I don't think it's ever too late to get into it. And Bob, I did not know any HTML, CSS, or JavaScript before I got in there. I had maybe heard of HTML, but couldn't even have told you what it was. It just takes a little bit of time. There's plenty of resources out there. And I will say artificial intelligence, especially ChatGPT, I have trained it quite well. I ask it all the time about code, about how to learn different things, just nonstop queries on it. And Paul, I would say the same thing in terms of like learning anything. Just utilize the artificial intelligence and it'll speed you up, as Tanner says, and you'll learn probably quicker, honestly. So good luck to all of you.
Awesome tactics, Douglas. Thank you so much. Hitting it out of the park, apprentices. Thank you guys so much. Cats showing up, Douglas, Mary Beth, y'all are amazing. And all of you too. If you think that you want to start your career in digital accessibility, the Certified Accessibility Tester program is available in states across the United States. We're not in every state, but we are in various states all across the United States. The map on our website is not up to date, right? So reach out to me directly if you want to talk through this. You need an open case with vocational rehabilitation, but we would love to get you into the program. Now, we have a skills baseline assessment that we have to get you to get into the CAT program, and then if needed, if there's some skill development that's needed to set you up for success in the CAT program. Again, I'm not about setting up anybody for failure. And if you need a little bit of help to get to where you're ready for the CAT program, we have our new Workplace Readiness Accelerator program. That's an 8-week program, and we can get that authorized into that program. But that's how we're upskilling talent. That's how we're trying to create employment opportunities for our community. And that is the Certified Accessibility Tester program and how to launch your career in digital accessibility. Rod, I want to thank you so much for helping coordinate things and making sure everybody knows about this, emailing. And I definitely want to thank our team internally at AO. Appreciate y'all so much for hopping on and sharing your expertise. It means the world to me.
Accessibility Officer.